Will you come and follow me if I but call your name? Will you go where you don't know and never be the same? Will you let my love be shown? Will you let my name be known? Will you let my life be grown in you and you in me? Will you leave yourself behind if I but call your name? Will you care for cruel and kind and never be the same? Will you risk the hostile stare? Should your life attract or scare? Will you let me answer prayer in you and you in me?
We know love by this, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for one another. How does God's love abide in anyone who has the world's goods and sees a brother or sister in need and yet refuses to help? Time after time, meeting human needs took center stage in Jesus' life and ministry. Therefore, we do not engage in mission work to force people into our understanding of God or because of conquest. We engage in mission work because it is love's call to feed and house the people of God. Richard Rohr says that to be a follower of Jesus is to choose at every ethical crossroads to serve people above structures. God's love abides in those who help, in those who lay down their very lives to help a brother or a sister in need. This year, more than any other year, we know deep in our bones that we cannot change the world by going to church. We can only change the world by being the church. Laying down our lives for one another leads us out of our comfort zones. So today, we will hear about just one way that this institution gets outside its walls to be the church, putting human needs first. Our La Romana medical mission in the Dominican Republic saves lives every year. Most invariably, it saves the lives of the missionaries themselves who let God move and live and grow in them. We talk a lot in this church about what it means to create the kingdom of heaven on earth. Well, my friends, heaven is just like this. Heaven is listening for the voice of Jesus, summoning us to fearlessly turn and follow, to love and to grow, to leave ourselves behind, to care for cruel and kind, to set the prisoners free, to reshape the world around us and never be the same again. Heaven is seeing the humanity in others, even if they don't see yours. Heaven is looking around and seeing not scarcity, but abundance. Heaven is looking in our neighbor's bowl only to make sure that they have enough and fighting like hell for them if they don't. How will you use the faith you found to reshape the world? Day by day, God leads us to the deep, deep pools of peace, to the green, lush lawns of grace. Day by day, love teaches us to pour out ourselves in service, to anoint the stranger with hope. Day by day, the Holy Spirit shows us the community that we could be and the family we are called to become.
Good morning, everyone. I wrote this reflection on my way back from La Romana last year, and as a pretty superstitious person, I'm not sure I'll ever be that proactive again, but here it is. I had the opportunity of going last year with my oldest son, Ben, and it was his first trip going, and now all of my children have gone, some of them multiple times, and it's really a life-changing experience, both for me, but also for them. So I highly encourage any of you who get the chance to do it, especially if you have children and can do it with them. It's really a wonderful experience. And it was so strange not going this year. I think my nurse practitioner, Veronica Farrell, and I have both gone now for several years in a row, and she and I kind of wandered around that week just feeling so strange not being there. But I hope this gives you a taste of the medical clinics that we run while we're down there. The smell is always what reminds me that I'm back. It's the combination of burning trash and sugar processing. One smell is hard on the nose, but it's the country's means of getting rid of their garbage. The other is nice to smell, but it's the fruit of the backbreaking labor of the people we will be seeing in the bates. Things ran more smoothly this year, I thought. I think it's a combination of a great group who is willing to help wherever needed, but also our fearless leaders. Jen Coburn and Doug Davis have established a good division of the tasks needed for us to accomplish our goals. Emilio, our leader at Casa Pastorel, knows us and how we work. The medical team and Bate Bible team put in a lot of miles that year. We always travel to Cañada del Negro, which is about an hour from our compound, including 30 minutes on dirt track through the sugarcane fields. We like to check in on Santa to see how she and her sons are doing. Pastor Jonathan and Shantea intervened for her many years ago and have helped over the years to make sure her children are cared for. She was pretty stable this time, and her sons are growing up. She's always excited when she sees us arrive. This year we visited another bate that was an hour into the fields. It's a little claustrophobic and hard to imagine how our bus driver knows how to get there. The sugarcane just is above our bus, and we're just traveling through it on these dirt roads. While there, the interpreters started chattering to each other, and it turned out that they were ordering bread from one of the locals. They're of Haitian descent, and the bread is part of their culture, and I imagine more difficult to get in La Romana, which is a Dominican city. On our way back, in the middle of the cane, we suddenly stopped, and a young boy appeared on a banana seat bike with a bag of bread, which our bus stopped for. He handed it off to our interpreters, and then he rode back off into the cane. We saw a lot of patients, really as many as we could. Jen keeps things organized, and her compassion for and knowledge of how we can help people is amazing. Emilio seems to know our breaking point now, and that we need to stop by at least 1 o'clock for lunch, or I get really grumpy, and we need to be back in La Romana in time for dinner. This year, I was mostly struck by the elderly. How do they make it to 75 or 85 years old? They generally seem happy and content, and at that age, they mostly want glasses, which luckily we have a lot of. The children are beautiful. They were so enthralled by the little dolls and beanie babies we gave them that you all contributed. Many were playing with them and the crafts they had done in Bate Bible when we got to see them. My first patient was a pregnant 13-year-old. I'm glad we're doing Days for Girls. It's life-saving, and she did attend it. I saw one woman with advanced breast cancer. I was told the only hospital that treats breast cancer on the island was in Santo Domingo, and they wouldn't see her because she didn't have paperwork. I pray for her. I'm always struck by the injured men. If they're injured, they can't cut cane, and that means no income. A young man I saw on our last day had an obviously broken shoulder. He was told he needed to have $1,000 for the surgery to repair it. He was so thin. We were able to give him food and refer him to Good Sam's Hospital, where they should be able to see him without pavement. My interpreter knew that an orthopedics team was planning to come down soon, although with COVID, I doubt that they did. I find myself worrying about the people of the Bates in this time of COVID. I know that groups have all canceled and aren't going down. On the one hand, it will hopefully keep the disease from spreading to the rural areas, but it keeps them from getting any medical care and supplies. These are times when I feel that what I do down there, seeing one patient at a time, isn't impactful enough. It doesn't affect large numbers of people or begin sweeping change. But then I think of the Emily Dickinson poem, "If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fading robin onto his nest again, I shall not live in vain." We in the medical clinic work one patient at a time. The hospital construction crew, Days for Girls, and Bate Bible team affect large numbers of people. Together, we are a great team, and we're so grateful for all the support you all give to us. It truly makes a difference. Thank you.
This is hard today. Just over 26 years ago, I'm short. Just over 26 years ago, I received a call from Jonathan Wright Gray that would end up changing my life and having an incredible impact on First Church. First Church in Sterling had been invited to participate in a mission trip to the Dominican Republic with the First Baptist Church in Holden and the First Baptist Church in Abington. Jonathan wanted to know if I thought my mom, Mary Colburn, who was an EMT here in town and a nursing student, would be interested in going. She was very interested. They wanted to test and see if this was something that First Church could participate in long term. They needed folks who could work both construction and medical at the same time. And as I said, Mom was very eager to go, and so were a few other church members. The experience our travelers had on that first mission trip was very different from what we experience today. I'm sorry. Travelers on that first trip, one of the things that's very different, travelers on that first trip stayed in the actual Sunday school classrooms of Maranatha Church. And these are stripped down bare cement classrooms. The bathrooms were in a separate building, and many of the showers were actually outdoor showers. The dorm rooms were much more crowded because everybody stayed in the same room. It wasn't until they were able to expand that they actually had separate men's and women's dorms. And the door to the dorm room was a metal hurricane door that only stayed closed when it was locked. And at times, the dorm rooms were so crowded that some folks even slept outside on the unscreened porch in hammocks. It was much cooler. Dinner was served in the same place that it is today, but the kitchen was actually an outdoor kitchen that was under a metal roof with no walls. So even in the worst storms, the women would be out there making our dinners and making our breakfasts. The work days were very different too. For the first few years, everyone spent the first half of the day working medical, and then in the afternoon they would switch to construction. During that first year, our members worked on digging and pouring the footings and foundations and columns for what now supports a 5-story hospital. We had teams there as those foundations were laid, and our teams later admitted the first overnight patient, a woman who was in sickle cell crisis. The earliest full clinics were held at the hospital construction site as well, with the occasional well baby visits being held out in the Bates, which are the sugarcane villages. They were attended also not only by the children, but by the sick and injured Bate residents who couldn't get into the clinics in the city. This eventually led to all teams traveling out to the Bates to better serve the residents. Over the years, we've had so many adventures and misadventures on our La Romana trips. We have met and become so very close to individuals and families, and seen so many changes in their lives. Some changes have been incredibly good, like seeing Yolanda graduate from high school after recovering from severe childhood malnutrition, and seeing Gabriel, the young boy who had had a traumatic amputation of his leg, grow and become the founder of an NPO that helps to serve other folks who have survived traumatic amputation, get prosthetics and physical therapy so that they can go on and be productive. And some have been incredibly sad, like losing Salvador, our bus driver and friend of 20 years, to uncontrolled diabetes and hypertension. And we have seen the frustrating process of trying to get consistent care for people with chronic illness, especially those in the Bates who are dealing with mental illness and living in those remote villages. We have watched as babies we once held have grown into doctors and lawyers, dentists and engineers, translators, nurses, and pastors. There is still so much need in La Romana that at times it seems overwhelming. But we have seen huge improvements. Today, kids stay in school much longer. Far more students are finishing high school than ever before. Bate construction projects of churches, houses, and schools have led to most villages having at least one structure that would survive hurricane-force winds. And indeed, these structures have sheltered entire villages during storms that would have caused severe illness, severe injury, and death. We have helped to reduce the rates of severe malnutrition in children by increasing access to vitamins and nutrition. We have increased access to birth control and sex education. We have increased education for girls and women and improved hygiene practices. We have worked to improve sanitation in villages, in some places by moving wells away from outhouses, in many places by increasing access to filtered water and access to education on how to purify water when no commercial filters are available. One of the most successful programs is our current project working with Days for Girls. Until recently, most girls that were born in the Bates did not finish school. Even as teams began to provide funding for education, girls faced more barriers. The belief that boys' education was more important, the need to help at home, the lack of resources for uniforms and school supplies, pressure to get married, to find a job, or both, and not having access to or money to buy sanitary supplies. All of these issues increased disruptions to a girl's education, often leading to missed school days, frustration, and eventually the inability to catch up. The Days for Girls program tackles many of these barriers, first by providing reusable feminine hygiene kits and health education, but also, just as importantly, by emphasizing how educating a girl improves the health and well-being of her entire family. When girls are taught how their bodies work, how pregnancy happens, and about how birth control and family planning, they are given the tools needed to prevent unplanned pregnancies and to make their own decisions on how, when they're ready to start a family, how many children they want to have. We first started working with Days for Girls after the earthquake in Haiti. It was so well received there that some of our Dominican co-workers asked us if we could bring it to La Romana as well. The women we work with in La Romana have embraced this program so much that they pressured the hospital to authorize more women to be trained as educators. And they shared this program with several other local organizations and international teams. From the beginning, one of the goals was to find a way to make the kits in the Dominican, which would make the program even more sustainable and impactful. It has taken a few years, the effort of many individuals and groups in 4 countries, the US, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Canada, many, many hours of work, hundreds of emails, lots of Zoom meetings, and international phone calls to make these dreams and plans come to fruition. But they have. This year, in the midst of a global pandemic that caused the closing of international borders and the suspension of all groups traveling to the Dominican Republic, a site in Santo Domingo was able to become certified by Days for Girls to make the kits on the island and train personnel. Then just a few weeks ago, Moises Safran signed a partnership agreement with that facility to supply kits to and train the facilitators for the La Romana area, creating a more stable supply chain and employment opportunities for women in the Dominican Republic. The last 26 years have brought many changes to La Romana. The Good Samaritan Hospital that First Church helped build the foundations for 26 years ago is a vibrant hospital that sees thousands of people a year. The La Romana mission went from hosting teams 13 weeks a year to having teams nearly every week except this last year. The mission used to serve 10 villages and now serves over 100 bates in the La Romana area, as well as the barrios in the city of La Romana, several villages in or near San Pedro, Higüey, and Bayahibe. The hospital now regularly sends emergency response teams to other provinces and even to Haiti in responses to earthquake, tropical storms, and hurricanes. But there is still so much more work to be done. This year, the American mission teams have had to pause, and tourism has completely halted because of a worldwide pandemic. But the need in La Romana and the sugarcane villages is greater than ever. Food insecurity, hunger, and malnutrition are becoming more serious problems as people struggle with how to feed their families while they are out of work. The Good Samaritan Hospital and Maranatha Mission are working hard to continue providing food and medical care in our absence, but they need our help more than ever. Thanks to the pandemic, our First Church team is unable to do much of our regular work. It's been heartbreaking, especially for me, but there's been no Caribbean dinner this year, no Super Bowl box lunch auction, and no La Romana mission trip. However, we feel strongly that it is vital for us to continue to raise money for the Maranatha mission and the Good Samaritan Hospital to help them provide food and medical services to the people in the most need. So we presented the 2020 virtual La Romana fundraiser. We ask if you have the means to please donate in lieu of purchasing tickets to the dinner or putting in, a Super Bowl bid. This money is being used for construction projects at the hospital, like turning the surgical suites into COVID units and providing food into the bates. One of the biggest problems the bates face right now is hunger. And you can donate money to help send a truckload of food to families in need. 100% of the donation goes directly to the mission in La Romana. Should I read out the website? You can donate by credit card or PayPal, and just go to the support page of our website, which is centrallaromana.org, laromana.org. And donate any amount. We appreciate every penny. You can also send a check to the First Church here in Sterling at Box 46, Meeting House Hill Road. We want to thank everyone for their support for the last 26 years. This is a project that could not have been done without you. And know that whether you're able to donate or not, please pray for our friends in La Romana. One more thing is I did speak with Moises last night, and I let him know we were doing this service today. And he asked me to let you all know that all of the employees of the hospital and of Casa Pastoral have now been vaccinated. And they are continuing to work and go out into the villages. They're now able to start doing clinics, some small clinics again, and they're bringing supplies out to more remote places. So, and please know that we are in their prayers as well. Thank you.
This La Romana Sunday is a little over a year in the making, as you've heard. Just over a year ago, our team was the last team out of La Romana in 2020 when the pandemic hit. Then because of the pandemic, we had to cancel La Romana Sunday last year. One of our team members, Zan Shaw, wanted to be a part of La Romana Sunday last year or this year, but she went into the Marine boot camp last year, just 1 week after we returned from La Romana. And is still serving today and was unable to get me her testimonial. So, even worse is that we were not able to go to the Dominican this year. We were only able to help our friends in the Dominican through fundraising and sending them aid. When I think of the medical mission to La Romana, I think of the word impact. Jen and Dr. Mary, both of whom are incredibly responsible for the success and effectiveness of this powerful mission, have outlined many of the impacts that our mission makes on the communities and people we serve in the Dominican Republic. There's no question that our impact has been felt in the Dominican community as we've helped build a hospital, install water filters, build homes, distribute food, clothing, glasses, feminine hygiene kits, and provide dental and medical care to marginalized and isolated communities in the sugarcane villages. We've sponsored the education of students that have become professionals, sponsored adult literacy, family planning, as well as sponsored many food drops and hospital changes to help deal with the pandemic. This medical mission also makes a huge impact right here at home in our community. Each year, a team of youth and adults gather from all over Central Mass, sometimes even a member or two from Maine or Virginia. And this team works incredibly hard to fundraise, solicit medical and other supplies, and head to La Romana to carry out the real work. Adults and youth alike are invariably moved and changed by this powerful and emotional mission. The impact on our community can be felt when a student changes their major to the medical field because of their experiences. Or if someone decides to continue improving the world around them by working with troubled youth. Or if someone goes on another mission trip because of the amazing mission to La Romana. The impact I see on the team members each year is just as important to me as the relationships we build and the work we do in the Dominican. All of this impactfulness is created because First Church and the First Church family support us and nurture the ideal that we can be the hands of God in the world. Church is not passive, church is action. First Church is active and makes an impact on our world every day for our members, our community, and around the world. As we invite today's offering, please give generously because every dollar given to First Church makes a huge impact.